I love the idea of videos that I've seen where people are swapping their screen time for more reading time. But logistically, that sounds like a nightmare for me. I don't think I could swap all of my screen time for my reading time, nor do I think I would ever want to achieve that. I'm definitely on my phone a lot throughout the day, but there's plenty of reasons to justify being on the phone in many instances, and I'm not overly concerned about my overall screen time. However, if we talk about TikTok, that's a little bit of a different story. Now, I think you can do whatever you want with your time. I think I can do whatever I want with my time, and I'm not particularly trying to be too hard on myself. I find TikTok to be a great source of entertainment and connection and even education. There's so many things I learn from TikTok, whether it's a little life hack or something going on in the world that I'm getting more news information on that I can go explore through other sources further. It's just such a great source for many different types of content. But some days I do feel like I just get stuck doom scrolling down an endless pit when I could probably be putting that time to a little bit better use. Again, not trying to be too hard on myself, but I just kind of wanted to experiment to see if I would be able to displace my TikTok time with another favorite hobby of mine, which is reading. So in order to complete this experiment, I decided it would be a 2-week approach. For the first week, I wanted to go about the week as I normally do, being on TikTok as I normally would, and reading as I normally would. So by the end of week 1, I took a look at all of my data and I was honestly pretty surprised. I knew I spent a lot of time on TikTok. I did not know it was quite this much time that I was spending on TikTok. And given the fact that I sometimes find myself wishing I was spending a little less time on TikTok, seeing the results for myself and realizing just how much time I'm spending on TikTok sometimes, and also just the current situation of knowing that TikTok could be banned in the US, I thought it would be a good time to try and experiment to see if I could cut that time down just to make sure I can live without TikTok. I mean, that's a little dramatic. I know I could live without TikTok, but will I be as happy? I don't know. And also just to see what it would feel like to put some more barriers around my TikTok time and reduce it a bit. But nobody wants to cut out a fun hobby without adding more time to another. And so that is why I decided after this week, I was going to try to see if I could switch my average time that I spend on TikTok in a week and my average time that I spend reading in a week. I'll bring you along through the week in this journey with me, and we'll see by the end how I'm feeling. Am I feeling happier? Am I feeling more at ease with the world? I just want to know what would be the effects of switching these times. Wish me luck. It is day 2 of the experiment, so it is time to do a quick check-in on how we're doing so far, and the answer is not good. I started this on a Friday, so Friday was day 1, Saturday is day 2. That's the exact same schedule I did the week prior. And on my first week of normal behavior, I also did not read much on Friday or Saturday. On Friday, I read 0 hours, 0 minutes. And on Saturday, I only read 20 minutes when I went to bed, and I tried to start this book called The Haunting of Alejandra, and I just was not into it enough, and then I just went to sleep. Some weekends I read a lot and I fly through books. Other weekends I watch TV or I watch movies or I go do things, and the past 2 weekends have been filled with just staying at home, watching stuff. On Fridays, the new episodes of Love is Blind comes out, so like, what do you expect me to do? I just don't have the motivation to read on those nights. And this week, now that we're in experiment week, is going the same. On Friday, I did not read at all, 0 hours, 0 minutes. And today it is Saturday, day 2, and it is currently 6:54 p.m. and I have read for 0 hours and 0 minutes at this point. Have I been on TikTok? Yes, I have. Let's see how much I've been on TikTok. I will say I have been actively trying to be on TikTok a lot less, knowing that I'm in this experiment time. So on Friday, I only spent 22 minutes on TikTok, and that is so much better than what last Friday looked like. That is such a little amount of time compared to any of the days that I did last week. So it's crazy how just being a little bit more intentional can really reduce your amount of time on a certain app or with your screen. Today so far, You know, I was doing good. You know, I just talked about Friday. I felt good. 22 minutes on TikTok. Today, I've spent 53 minutes on TikTok so far, and the night is still young. So I think what I'm going to try to do is try to sit down for like an hour, because what I was literally just doing before I came to film this update was I was scrolling through TikTok. And what am I even doing on TikTok, you might ask? I'm looking at Taylor Swift theories regarding many things about her life and her songs and her concerts that are going on right now. I watched a live show that was a person who was sitting in the audience at SeaWorld as the whales were doing a show. It's just the most random things that come up, and you just get hooked in them and you just keep scrolling, and before you know it, 53 minutes have passed. That was scattered throughout the day. I did not sit down for a solid 53 minutes right now, but I was probably sitting down for like 10 or 15 minutes on TikTok. I'm gonna try to be a little more intentional. I'm gonna go sit down and try to read for about an hour, and then my reward will be watching a movie, because that's what I love to do on Saturday nights, and I usually like to start around 8 p.m. So I'm gonna go sit down to read. What I'm reading right now is this book called The Chateau. I have an arc of that through NetGalley, and that is what I started a couple of days ago. Yesterday, 2 days ago. I guess I didn't read it all yesterday, so it must have been 2 days ago. And I do not know if I'm going to like it. I don't know why I just slipped into a British accent there. I don't know if I'm going to like it. It's about a group of women going to the Chateau. It's one of their grandmothers, and they used to go there when they were studying abroad, because she's in Paris, France, somewhere in France, I think. And they would go and they were studying abroad in that area, but now they're 40 years old, and the grandmother invited all the girls back for their 40th birthdays. Most of them are around 40-ish. One of them, it's currently their birthday. Then I think the grandmother's going to die, and they're gonna wonder why she brought them all together, I believe. But you're getting the POVs of each of the women, and they read the exact same. Like, I cannot distinguish the differences between who these characters are, who these women are. It just sounds all the same right now. So I'm hoping that gets better. But if it doesn't, I'm probably gonna have to switch books so that I can still be engaged with my reading. So I don't know. I'll let you know what happens. For an hour-ish. But how crazy. This is crazy. Just crazy. You could not predict this. I literally was just talking about in the last clip how what I spend my time with on TikTok is like Taylor Swift theories and all of those things. And now the thing I predicted weeks ago is hitting the tabloids. Taylor and Joe have broken up. And if you don't care about Taylor Swift or follow anything, you have no idea the significance of this and what this means. But oh my God, I predicted this weeks ago. He hasn't been going to any of her concerts. And also, I won't get too deep into it because it's a contentious debate, but like, I definitely don't believe that relationship was real. Maybe in the beginning, but like not at all. I definitely think he was a beard, and I am on the Gaylor side of TikTok, but we don't have to get into that. I am thrilled. I am exhilarated. Weeks ago, I was like, I just know as soon as this tour is over, she's going to announce that they have broken up, and it came earlier. It dropped mid-tour. I'm so excited. I am so thrilled. This probably sounds crazy if you have no idea of all the lore and all the queer flagging over the years and just how freaking loud she is if you just pay attention. And like, obviously, if there's a scenario where that was a real relationship and she's upset about it, like, I'm so sorry and I hope she's okay, but like, I do not think that's the case at all, for so many reasons that I've spent so many hours deep diving way too far into. But now, how am I supposed to read? Because all week, now all week from this point on, all that's gonna be on TikTok is people talking about this and diving into things. And then when she performs at her concert this weekend, everyone's gonna be wondering what she's going to say, if she's gonna talk about it. Oh my gosh. It's gonna be so hard to not spend a lot of time on TikTok now. So I'm just gonna have to aim for the strategy of reading so much that it averages out still to be above my TikTok time. Whew, unprecedented. For a reading update, sorry, that was completely irrelevant and probably only like 3% of you care about that whatsoever, but it was just so wild. For a reading update, I have gotten 18% into the Chateau, and it's getting a little bit better. it still feels like all the perspectives read really similarly. You get 4 different women's perspectives, plus the grandmothers, plus this guy named Raph, who is the groundskeeper, and maybe even more, I don't know, but it's just a lot, and they all do read really similarly, but I'm getting a little bit more comfortable. I'm starting to take character notes about them, and so that's helping just like rotate through the POVs and try to get a sense of who these women are and what the story is going to be. People have secrets. Seems like it's gonna be a messy time. I hope I can get a better understanding of who the characters are so I can be more invested in the story, and when reveals happen, I can be like, oh, because I can follow along to what's happening. But it does feel like a good, quick read that's gonna keep me engaged and help me focus on my reading. So I'm actually going to try to read even more than an hour tonight, probably, and we'll figure out what the final count is for that. But I'm also currently baking an apple pie because I wanted a little treat for myself, and planning on what movie I'm going to watch tonight, and doing my absolute best to not fall down a huge rabbit hole on TikTok tonight. Hello, it is day 3 of the experiment. It is Sunday, and I don't know if you can tell, but if you can tell, I am wearing the same shirt as I was yesterday because it's a weekend, it's a rainy weekend, and of course I'm wearing the same shirt. Just a quick update for you right now, because not a lot has happened today, but I do want to update you on what happened yesterday so that whatever happens today, too much isn't happening before I update you again. So I think I did a pretty good job yesterday of not falling too far down the rabbit holes of TikTok. There was a lot going on. There was a lot happening. People were live streaming talking about the breakup. Videos were coming out everywhere as people were breaking the news. I mean, there was a lot. I restrained myself as best as I could. I have not looked at the final numbers, so I will be learning this at the same time as you to see what yesterday looked like. So yesterday, my total TikTok time was 1 hour and 40 minutes, which is still quite a lot. I mean, that's like the whole length of a movie. But I tried, I did my best. I also ended up reading for a total of 1 hour and 45 minutes yesterday. So I did read more yesterday than I spent on TikTok. However, because I didn't read anything on Friday based on totals, I still have more time in the TikTok bucket for both totals and averages than I do in reading. But TikTok is not pulling too far in the lead. You know, it's neck and neck, and I definitely still have plenty of days to fix this. Of course, today is Sunday though, and I can sadly report I've spent 0 time reading, and I have spent time on TikTok. So let me see what we've got going on for today so far. Today has been 37 minutes on TikTok so far, and I'm sure that will not be the only time I am on it today, just because I know I like to look at it in the evening or before bed. So again, it's gonna have to be another day of being intentional, sitting down, getting some reading done, and trying to pull the averages back up. I also did want to quickly let you know the movie that I watched last night was this movie called Missing, which is technically kind of a sequel to the movie Searching, but you do not have to watch them in order. It's just in the same universe and a similar style film where the whole movie is on the screen of a computer or like Ring camera devices, and it's like a mixed media in that way. Or I guess found footage might be a better way to say that, but it's not found footage, it's like active footage being taken. Anyway, I freaking loved it. I did enjoy the first movie Searching. That was like a 4-star for me, but Missing just really hit home for me in a lot of different ways, and it was a 5-star, and I loved it. So if you're looking for a really fun, fast-paced, dynamic thriller, because it is different and it's like on the screen of a computer, I always thought that would annoy me, but it actually does a really good job being creative with that and making it feel like a movie. So I would really recommend that. But anyway, I'm gonna go try to get some reading done now, and I will check in with you again tomorrow. Hello, it is day 4 of the experiment. Today is Monday. I'm now in the work week, so the numbers may be getting crazy from this point forward, but before that, let me update you on the final numbers from Sunday. By the end of the day on Sunday, my TikTok time ended up amounting to 1 hour and 1 minute precisely, and my reading time amounted to 1 hour and 20 minutes. So at this point so far, the numbers are pretty even. My totals and averages are almost the exact same. This is so much based on just being so intentional, because if you look at just the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of my first week when I was not being intentional, by this point I had already spent almost 7 hours on TikTok versus the only 3 hours I've spent so far on TikTok. So I've cut down my TikTok time by 50% in 3 days, which is very incredible. I've also greatly increased my reading time, and if you ask me how I'm feeling, you know, if we're doing an experiment, you have to have both quantitative and qualitative measures. I would say I'm feeling a little bit stressed. I feel a little bit stressed having to put restraints on it. Every time I'm on TikTok, I feel guilty now, or I feel like I've got to get off of this as fast as possible and I just have to do a quick update to see if there's anything new and interesting, and then I've got to get off. Or if I have not read during the day at a certain point, I get stressed about it and I'm like, I have to sit down and I have to read. But I will say, once I do sit down and read, I seamlessly read for at least an hour, usually, without it feeling like much time has passed at all. So once I just tell myself to sit down and read, I love reading. You know, I really just get so lost in that. And so that experience has been good, but trying to limit myself on TikTok has been difficult. I know there is a feature on screen time where you can place certain limits. So I could hypothetically go in and say, I don't want to ever spend more than an hour on TikTok throughout the rest of the experiment, and tell myself I was going to read for an hour and 20 minutes every day and force the averages to work out in my favor so that I do successfully complete this experiment. But I don't particularly want to do that because I do just want it to be a little bit more natural, like a normal week would. I guess I'm interested to see how the rest of the week pans out, how much time I spend on TikTok, if I'm still feeling stressed with my limits, if I end up completing the experiment successfully, if I feel any different by the end of this week than the first week, if this feels worth it at all. There's a million questions swarming around my head that we will not know the answer to until the week is done. Hello, it is day 6 of the experiment. Today is Wednesday and I have a lot to catch you up on. So the last I spoke to you was on Sunday. I don't even know if I gave you my Sunday total numbers. I think I did. Maybe I talked to you on Monday. But I haven't told you anything about how Monday and Tuesday went, and I only partially know because I haven't looked at my TikTok time yet. I only know my reading time. So let's do a recap. So on Monday, I ended up spending 55 minutes on TikTok, not too bad, and I read for 1 hour and 40 minutes. So my reading time definitely outweighed my TikTok time on Monday, and that did a nice job to bring up my reading totals and average to be above TikTok time. Still not quite what I'm aiming for with my goal of an average of 1 hour and 47 minutes. But we're getting closer. Also on Monday, I finished the book, Chateau, and I owe you an update on that. I didn't really like it. I ended up giving this book a 2-star. I think it was just not all that interesting to me. It did not keep my attention. There were too many characters and too many POVs of those characters that you got, and I've just read several other books that have done a very similar thing better. Maybe if you're newer to the thriller genre, you'll enjoy it more, but I just personally did not love this one. One of my biggest complaints is truly all the character POVs read the exact same, so it's super hard to distinguish them and keep track of them. And by the end, the direction that the story went with the reveal and the twist and the story that it was telling, in some ways I'm like, yes, that's a good story to tell, especially in this time, but as an entertainment factor for the whole of the story, it just didn't satisfy me by the end. I just was not really that invested. I didn't like any of these characters. You don't really have many people to root for, and it just didn't do anything new to wow me. I've seen it compared to Lucy Foley, and I do feel like that kind of makes sense. Especially more recently, I read The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley, and that whole book, I was so frustrated because I was like, the main character is doing nothing to actively try to solve the mystery. She's just kind of floundering around. And that is very similar to how the Chateau goes, where the main character is just like floundering around, and everyone's just sort of floundering around, and motivations didn't really make sense for her as the main character of just like letting all these things happen around her and not really actively doing anything to try to address any of them. So it just wasn't for me. That was a little bit of a disappointing book. Now let's catch up on what happened on Tuesday. Tuesday went a little bit off the rails. So I had so many good intentions on Tuesday. I was like, let me schedule some reading sprints with my channel members that will get me focused. We will start a new book together. I will be like ready to read. It'll be a good time. I'm gonna read so much. I'm not gonna be on TikTok much. And I did read a good bit. I did. I read for 1 hour and 20 minutes, which is kind of average for how this week is going. And the book that I decided to start is The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. I ended up getting 100 pages into this one during those sprints. And I actually kind of let my members decide which book I was reading because I was between a couple different thrillers, and I just wanted something that would capture my attention because I've been having a horrible reading month, and this is the one they wanted me to read. It was kind of the one I was equally interested in all of the books on a surface level, but if I really thought about it, I really wanted to read Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. And I also had The Younger Wife by Sally Hepworth I was looking at. And I don't know, I've read from Megan Miranda once before. I read The Girl from Widow Hills and I did not enjoy that book. And so I'm just not sure if Megan Miranda is going to be the author for me, but it's a new book. It's a book of the month book. It's a survival thriller. We're giving it a try. And I'm actually liking it so far, although I will say it kind of just reads like a carbon copy of the show Yellow Jackets, and I love the show Yellow Jackets, and so I don't know if it's going to be able to beat that for me. But in the story, you're following a cast of characters who, when they were seniors in high school, they were going on this trip on these buses, and they got in a horrible accident at this river, and they witnessed several of their classmates and teachers die. But there's a group of 9 of them that survived that incident. That was horribly traumatic for them. And then a year later, one of the remaining survivors commits suicide. And so because of that, they decide to make this pact where they're going to get together every year on the anniversary to be there to support one another. When you're following the characters now, it is 10 years in the future, and the main character following is named Cass, and she is kind of ready to put this in her past and move on from it. So she's not planning on coming to this reunion this year, but she finds out by getting a text message that another one of the survivors has committed suicide, and so that encourages her to go reunite with them and be there for one another. Once they get there, they're all hanging out at this beach house for the week. One of the members goes missing, and that cues the mystery, and you're getting the present day story, and you're also getting flashbacks to the past of that incident. And the incident that they had to survive in, I think you're reading that backwards because you read it at like hour 7, then hour 6, then hour 5, so that's going backwards. And then the present day is going forwards. It's intriguing, but it really feels super similar to Yellow Jackets. If you've seen that show, you will know that sounds really familiar to a girls' soccer team who gets in a plane crash. They get stranded on this island. It follows the past and the present. There's current things going on in the present that may tie to what happened when they were in that survival situation. And obviously that story can be done in multiple different ways, but I don't know, there's just like a lot of similarities that it really just feels like watching that show and then being super inspired to write a very similar book. But I don't know, maybe it will go really well, and because I like Yellow Jackets, maybe I'll really enjoy this one as well. I don't know, but I am planning on finishing this one this week. But yeah, that was the update on how this went. Now let me tell you about my TikTok time yesterday, because it wasn't good. I ended up spending 2 hours and 22 minutes on TikTok yesterday. Most of when this happened was when I went to bed after the reading sprints, and I'd already been on TikTok quite a bit throughout the day, but probably only about like an hour, less than an hour. It was a good regular amount for this experiment. But after I went to bed, as soon as I got on TikTok, I was just sucked in for like an hour, hour and a half. And I stayed up too late, and I woke up and I felt so tired. And I didn't even realize that, and I haven't been thinking about that, but I've been waking up really energized this week. I've just been feeling better. And then today I was so tired, and I'm like, you know what? It's probably because I haven't been scrolling on TikTok at night before bed very much recently. And then I did it last night and I felt horrible. So I think that's a learning out of the experiment, is as good as it feels in the moment to get sucked in the entertainment rabbit hole of TikTok right before bed, it is horrible for my sleep, and it makes me feel terrible the next day. So that's where we're at now. Today is Wednesday, and luckily the averages and total time aren't too far off, because I have been pretty consistent up until yesterday about being better with reading more and being on TikTok less. I also think it's going to help that I'm in the middle of a book I am enjoying more right now than I was when I was reading the Chateau, so I should be more inclined to read more throughout the next couple of days. But at this point, I don't know if I can trust myself anymore. The experiment has come to a close, and I can now tell you the final numbers and if I was indeed able to switch my TikTok time with my reading time. But before we do that, I am going to tell you about The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda, because I did finish this book during my reading, and unfortunately, I did not really love it that much. I'm having such a difficult reading month. I don't know what is going on. I might just have to like wipe the slate clean with my TBR and just try some different books, because I'm really struggling lately. This book wasn't bad, it just wasn't great. Like, that's how I feel about everything I've been reading lately. It's just like, this was fine. This was fine for me too. This was okay. Nothing new. It gave me a entertaining enough time in the reading experience, because it really hangs you in the suspense throughout the entire story of wondering what exactly happened in the past when this group of teens was put in this survival situation together, and what about what happened is informing what is happening now in the future when people are committing suicide and now someone's gone missing, and it seems like someone's going to expose some secrets. So like, what are the secrets? It really hangs you on the balance of trying to figure that out for pretty much the entire book until really close right to the end. And with that level of suspense being built, I really expected something shocking, And this was not shocking. I saw the bad person a mile away. I think most thriller readers would. And this is only my second book from Megan Miranda, so I wasn't exactly sure what to expect in terms of the level of twistery to expect in it, because it really is written much like a mystery. And so I never know with a mystery, is there going to be this huge grand reveal? Is there going to be a big twist? Or is it going to be pretty, you know, standard? And I would say this is pretty standard. But in the back, I did notice at the end of the synopsis, this book says it is a propulsive and chilling locked box mystery filled with the dazzling hairpin twists that are the author's signature. And I would not say that this book had hairpin twists whatsoever. So unfortunately, it just didn't really work out for me. I mean, I think I'm gonna give it like a 3.5 because it did have me engaged and reading quickly because I was hung in this moment of suspense. But at the end, I was like, really? That's it? That was the explanation for what was going on? And I do understand just in general, like these teens being put in the survival situation is traumatic. And I imagine if I was in that circumstance and I experienced the things they experienced and saw the things they experienced, that I would too be traumatized. I don't want to downplay the seriousness of it, but I felt like it wasn't played up enough in the story. I felt like it really could have leaned more into the seriousness of it and just really leaned into some of the darker elements of it, and it just didn't feel like it fully went there for me. So I don't know, didn't love it, but that seems to be pretty typical for me of Megan Miranda so far. Not particularly interested in anything else from her backlist, honestly, so I don't think this is an author I'm going to necessarily be exploring more. Maybe in the future, I don't know. So with that all wrapped up, I can tell you the final numbers for how the last 2 days of the experiment went. And I'll just tell you all at once. On Wednesday, my TikTok time was 48 minutes, a nice small amount, and my reading time was 2 hours and 5 minutes. So Wednesday was a very, very good day. This was the day that I did the bulk of the reading of The Only Survivors. I participated in some reading sprints by just watching them and reading along on my own time, and it was just a really good day. Then Thursday, things swung a little bit back in a different direction. My TikTok time was 1 hour and 26 minutes, and my reading time was 1 hour and 50 minutes. This was the day that I finished The Only Survivors. I stayed up a little late to finish it, and then I still needed to get a little more reading time in because I knew I had spent more time on TikTok that day. And so I did start another book, Revelations. This is a short story collection that I'm planning on doing a reading vlog for in itself, unless I end up not really liking it. So within a week, you will either see a reading vlog of this or you will not. And then you will know, did I like it? Is my reading month still going horribly? To be determined. And that brings us to the final numbers of how week 2 panned out. And I did not necessarily meet my goal of completely swapping the amount of time on average that I was spending on TikTok and reading, but I did swing the pendulum in the opposite direction and ended up with more total reading time and more reading time on average than I did with TikTok. So now the question is, was this successful? Is this something I'm going to be implementing? Did I appreciate being more intentional with my TikTok time and getting more reading time in? Honestly, not really. That's probably not the most exciting answer, but I feel like by the end of this week, it was just more stress than it was worth. I mean, I ended up with pretty similar average reading and TikTok time, and honestly not too different total time either throughout the week. I guess the averages aren't that different. The totals are pretty different when you look back at week 1. I shaved off quite a few hours of total TikTok time, and I added a couple hours of reading time throughout the week. But I don't know, I just don't feel that different after it. I don't feel more fulfilled. I honestly just felt more stressed trying to limit myself off of TikTok, and it didn't have any major effects on anything one way or another other than just making me feel stressed. Every day, if I was on TikTok, I felt like I had to get off the app as quickly as possible, and if I wasn't reading, I felt like I had to start reading as quickly as possible because time is so fleeting and I only have a couple hours in my evening, and if I'm not doing the reading now, when am I going to do it? And then what if I go to bed and I haven't read today, and oh my goodness, it's so stressful. It just added a lot more stress. I did end up spreading my reading more evenly throughout the week is what I noticed too. Like if you look at week 1, I didn't really read much on some days at all, and then other days I went kind of bananas and would read a lot. If I think through how my normal weeks go, that is pretty consistent. Like some days I just don't pick up a book because I'm in between books or I'm not really enjoying the one I'm reading, and other days I get lost in a book and I read a lot, and I'm really cool with that. I'm fine with that. The same thing is true with my TikTok time. Some days I'm not spending quite as much time on there. Other days I did spend quite a lot, upwards of 4 or more hours on TikTok in a day, which is extreme. But I think some of that also has to do with the fact that, and I didn't mean to make this whole video be about Taylor Swift, but I do think a big contributing factor is that Taylor Swift is touring right now. And so there's a lot of Taylor Swift related content that I'm just super interested in. There's new stuff happening all the time. You're seeing surprise songs she's singing or her outfits. You can see live streams on TikTok. And so I think that's why I'm maybe spending a little more time than usual on TikTok lately, but I don't feel like it's harming my day to day. I don't feel like I'm losing attention span or focus too much. I mean, maybe a little bit, honestly. I don't know, but I can still like sit down and watch a movie and sit down and read a book. So I think I'm doing okay. So I guess my conclusion for this experiment is I feel like I'm doing just fine. I'm feeling okay about my time. I am definitely going to be more intentional no matter what in the future with the days that I'm really spending a lot of time on TikTok when I should be doing other things. And that is also a tricky statement because I don't want to be like a part of productivity culture, hustle culture, and feel guilty for relaxing and enjoying my time. But sometimes there's genuinely like things I need to be getting done and I should not be distracted on TikTok. And so I think I will be more intentional about that, but otherwise, I don't know. I feel like I'm doing okay. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you were surprised by the results. Let me know how you feel about your screen time, your reading time, if you think you would like to try this challenge, or if there's anything you think I should have done a little bit differently. Maybe it's something I'll look at doing again in a little bit of a different way in the future. So if you have any ideas, let me know down below. But that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.